Wonderful. So thank you all again so much for coming and being with us here today. We've got some exciting information to cover as we move through today's webinar. Wanted to start just to let you know, here at NHA, we are fully invested in the success for all of our candidates. We're here to help ensure that no matter what your background or needs, that you feel confident and empowered to know your resources and to sit for your certification exam when it's time. Confidence is that you're ready to test is a major hurdle for many learners. And so today's goals are to ensure that you know how to use all the tools as you prepare and can identify kind of when that right time is going to be. Now, to help in your confidence, you should know that NHA is the largest frontline healthcare worker certification organization in the industry. We have over 1 million certified candidates and provide certifications as well as learning tools for the entire journey. Of our 8 nationally accredited certifications, just to level set, 5 of them fall on the practitioner side of frontline healthcare. So that's medical assistant, phlebotomist, pharmacy technician, EKG, and patient care technician. There are also 3 certifications in a more administrative capacity. So these include billing and coding, medical administrative assistant, and e-health records. Beyond that, NHA develops comprehensive learning tools around the key objectives for the professions that we serve. But today's focus is going to be on the reporting and resources around those 8 certifications to help identify for you the best ways to prepare and feel confident on exam day. Now, to get started, I wanted to just get to know you guys a little bit. I'm going to be posting a couple of polls as we progress through today. So you're going to see on your screen a question. How are you testing? Are you testing through a program that's academic, through an employer, on your own? If you're posting in some way that isn't one of these 4, other, well, go ahead and post that in chat and we can kind of capture that. Just trying to find out a little bit more about you and where you're coming from. Give you guys just a quick second there and let everyone who wants to. I know there's at least one class of people watching all under one link. So that's exciting. Happy to have you here. We're going to just go ahead and close this down in just a second. All right. So it looks like we have the majority of people here through a school of some kind, though we do have a lot of folks from an employer program, a few testing independently. It's very exciting to have you here. Thank you so much for being with us today. So learning and preparing for your nationally accredited exam is a journey. Wherever you are in this process, we're going to look at some of the key things that you can do to know that you're ready to become NHA certified. Now, before we dive in, I'm going to ask another quick question here, actually. Let's go ahead and find those polls one more time. Sorry, I'm going to have to share this one out. Share results, stop sharing. Need to relaunch a poll. There it is. We're just curious, why did you show up today? Right? So, what are you most hoping to learn? I can adjust what we talk about depending on what you guys respond. So, you should see another poll up on your screen. We just want to make sure that we're bringing you the information that you really want to know. And if not today, we can host another one. We do these webinars throughout the year. We're constantly developing new material. So we just want to make sure that we're bringing you what you need to help as you prepare or to help other learners that come through this journey alongside you. I'm going to give everybody just a quick minute to see which one of these is going to kind of track with you the most. Right now, we're really trending on suggestions on preparing to test is really the biggest one that's running so far. But we've got answers in almost every category. So this is great. Thank you so much here. I'm going to close this down in just a second. So you guys can see that we did touch on almost every single one of these topics, and we are going to talk about these today. But thank you so much, everyone, for answering that. That really does help give us a little bit of a view of what you need. So let's talk about the outline for today. One of the biggest questions that we get is, how do I know I'm ready to take my certification exam? Well, today we're going to try and uncover that answer here with the National Healthcare Association, that's NHA. We can see how candidates across the country are preparing to test through our online resources and how different tools can make a really big difference. So we've taken some observations and created this information to talk about these key things. We're scoring and how it works, tracking your progress, the resources available. So we're going to talk to a lot of those key elements today. To get started, one of the biggest questions we get again is what's going to be on the exam? How do I know? How do I know to be prepared? Well, we can't tell you exactly what questions you're going to have, but we definitely have resources to help. The place to begin is to understand what earning a certification means in the industry. So this is different than getting a certificate of completion. So a certificate of completion, though important, usually shows you finished training at an educational institution, earning a degree, earning a high school diploma, for example, shows you've completed a program. A certification is obtained through a national agency, a national test, by passing this credentialed exam. So, you think about the difference between going to medical school and becoming a doctor. You aren't a doctor just because you graduate med school. You have to pass the test to get your license. Both are important, but they do different things. When looking to get your national certification, it's always important to take note if it's an accredited one. Okay, but what does that mean? Having an accredited certification like the ones NHA provide means that you're being tested on content that's been evaluated by the industry at an industry level, not just what we think you should know, but what the industry says you need to know. Now, not all certifications are accredited, so making sure yours is can make a huge difference for employers. The NHA certification exams are accredited through the Institute for Credentialing Excellence. This is all of that information. This means that the certifications themselves are nationally recognized and accredited. In addition, they have been recognized by the largest program accreditations, which confirm academic programs. We are sponsoring organization of some of those organizations. So we establish what the industry standards should be. All this is to say is that you should feel confident in your decision to partner with NHA and earn your industry certification. I'm going to ask another quick question here. I'm curious, what certification are you studying for? Now, we've got 8, so this is a big long list. You might need to scroll down. What is the certification you're studying for right now? And if you have multiple, post that in the chat. Just let us know. We want to see kind of who's with us today. You don't see yours, they're all there, so make sure you scroll up or down to find the one that you're studying for. Looks like we've got almost everybody. Excellent. I'm going to close this down here in just a second. There we go. So as you can see, we've got people for medical assisting, phlebotomy, EKG, farm tech, really every certification is represented here. Very exciting. Thank you guys for answering that for me. So as you continue in your educational journey, always do your research. A quick browse on any certification organization's website, like NHA's, should bring up the ability to see that accreditation status. Always do your research beforehand to make sure that the certification you're working towards really means something in the industry. So understanding what a certification is and the test itself are different things. So to help with that, the test plan is key. This is the blueprint or the outline of the exam itself. This is how you can see the test plan. It provides an overview of topics, the concepts tested on, the number of questions or topics in each area. Knowing how it works and what's going to be on the test at a competency level is an important part of your preparation and confidence. All of NHA's test plans are available on the website and are also included in the study materials we provide. Just locate the certification that you're studying for, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll be able to download the test plan for free. So that's where you can always see what the current test blueprint is. But how will you be scored on the exam? Well, taking a look at the test plan outline, you should know that everyone who tests for that exam type follows the exact same blueprint. The scored items outline the series of skills that will be on the test itself, but there will be questions on the exam we don't score. You should see that number on the test plan. But you're not going to know which ones those are. They're kind of popcorned throughout the test. So you want to be sure that when you're sitting for your exam, answer all of the questions to the best of your ability, knowing that some of them are not going to impact your final score. Every learner who takes this test will follow the test plan, but not everyone will have the same questions. So to fairly score each individual across a range of possible questions, every question has been reviewed through a series of things, which include how hard is the question? How often are you going to be asked to do that thing? Or even how important is it that you get it right the first time? Those are just some of the layers used to set the score. So no matter what, the maximum score that you can get is a 500, all tests. So that means 500 is a perfect score. Every test has the potential for you to earn 500 points. The minimum to pass, the minimum to earn your certification is 390 or higher. So that's the cut score. That's the evaluated score. That doesn't mean it's an 80%. That's not how this works, because each question is valued differently. So you're aiming for a certain amount of points once all of your questions have been reviewed in order to earn your certification. Okay, so now that you have an idea of what you need to prepare for and how you'll be scored, the next step is actually doing the work. And we're here to help you with that too. Depending on your program or learning journey, you may have purchased or been provided through a program the NHA exam prep materials. These are based on the test plans we've been talking about. The full prep package includes an online study guide, a series of practice tests, personalized reporting tools, and an additional study tool called the Focused Review. As we look this over a little bit, you may want to know that NHA has recently surveyed over 6,000 certification holders. And on average, they wished that they had studied with NHA's materials earlier and more frequently than they did prior to testing for their certification. In addition, those who use these materials well were more likely to earn their certification in their first attempt. So I'm going to ask you guys another quick question here. I'm going to launch that poll. Do you have or are you planning on obtaining the NHA study materials? I want to know how many of you have it, how many of you think you're going to get it, how many didn't even know it existed, right? So let's just take a quick minute and see which one of these most aligns to where you're coming from. Give you guys a second to answer. Almost everybody. Though it does look like the bulk of you may already have your exam study materials, that's not necessarily the case for everyone, which is totally okay. We're going to talk a little bit about those and a little bit about studying and preparation. So that's kind of the next phase here. Let's go ahead and close that up. So it looks like the majority of people, again, do have prep or aren't sure if they're getting it, but we do see a lot of great information there. So thank you guys so much for answering that question for us. All right, so many programs or employers actually provide these directly to their candidates, but not all. So whether you choose to purchase these yourself or if it's provided to you, once you have them, you can access them through the My Courses or My Materials links on your NHA account. If this is being provided through your program, check in with them, make sure when to expect it. If there's a certain path or process that you're going to get them, always defer back to your program's goals and processes. We're going to talk about this kind of at a general level. Okay, so your program is who you should ask questions for. Now, to follow NHA's best practices, which not everybody does, but this is what we would suggest, is that you start with your study guide first, working all the way through each lesson and taking the quiz once you've completed that lesson. So the online study guide has a lot of amazing features. We're just going to outline a couple of them. So it's broken into core categories or sections, each one aligned to a core content area from the exam. Now, this is not enough to study on its own. So you definitely need work experience, your grades in your current program, whatever those other pieces are. But these chapters will take you through how NHA will talk to this material and test you on. There are activities and games built in, checkpoints and assessment tools. We have glossary terms, flashcards, and even a series of professionalism videos, which are a great help in understanding a little bit more of not just what's expected of you in the job itself, but are you a good employee, right? Lots of great tools built in. Once you have access to the NHA study materials, you can also then download the NHA flashcard app to help with the learning. You use your NHA login details and you'll have access to all available flashcards with fun ways to keep organized and help as you review key topics. We do also have walkthroughs for you out on our website, how-tos on downloading, whether you're using an Android device or Apple, we have the walkthroughs for all of the above. So that is a great way to help with your studying. Now, once you've worked through the lesson, then you should take the quiz tied to that chapter to see how much you remember. These are designed to look and feel just like the online exam itself, but they're focused in just one core area so you can see how ready you are to move on. Now, we don't just tell you if you get it wrong or right, but we will provide for you the background information to know why it was right or wrong. And we'll do this for every quiz in the study guide. Now, because of this, we don't really recommend that you just take the quizzes over and over again, but instead take them once and use that information to study more before moving into the next module. Memorizing these questions is not going to help you on the exam. It's the time and study that we really need to focus on. Now, once you've gone all the way through the study guide, that's when we would suggest you test your readiness by taking your first NHA practice assessment. So now these are different practice tests designed around the full test plan. You're taken through several different test versions with a total of 6 attempts. Now, just because you get a bunch of tries doesn't mean you should take them all right away to memorize questions. These are designed to help prepare for your study. Each of the attempts is that full test blueprint. But just like the quiz questions, don't expect that these exact questions will be on the certification exam. They're designed to follow the blueprint for all scored questions. They provide you feedback, reporting, and additional tools to help you study. Your institution may turn on or off instant feedback rationale. Some exams have that built in. We suggest you try for at least one practice test to be as close to a real exam feel as you can create. Time yourself, right, to make sure you can get through a timed exam. And though you get a total of 6 attempts, we really see that those who use at least the first 4 have a higher possibility of passing the exam in their first attempt. Now, after each practice test attempt or quiz, you'll get a personalized score that will load to see how you did in each core area. Now, again, we're not going to tell you what question you missed, but we will tell you what competencies to work on. This is to be sure that you go back and study. We keep coming back to this concept of studying on the areas that you need to work on, not memorizing questions. And from here, you can immediately launch for your practice tests, your focused review. This helps you study what you may still be uncomfortable with. So we recommend you spend time in this as a review, as well as in any additional content you're provided through your institution before the next practice test. So as I mentioned, this is a different study tool specific to just that one practice test attempt to help you focus further on the areas you haven't quite mastered yet, right? Spending time in study is the surest way to help solidify your learning and help you grow. So this is designed to filter out all the noise and focus in on just the things that you need to continue to work on. Now, it's not interactive like your study guide is, but it is filterable. It's also printable. You can go back and highlight certain areas, spend time in those competencies you need to work on the most. It can make a huge difference in helping you through this final phase of studying for your exam. So now we're going to get into kind of the real key to the success, and that's understanding how to know what you've done, how to know how you're doing, and what maybe we should do next. And so for today's discussion, any of the reports that you see are pretend reports. We're going to be a pretend candidate. We're just going to use her as our kind of guide, but this is very much similar to what you're going to see. The moment you begin in NHA study materials, we begin to monitor your progress. You can see this catalog in the module through this time spent log in the upper right-hand corner. This time clock does reset for every login. So each time you log back into a module, it will start at 0. But your full timestamp is available in your reporting right from your materials. You may see something called a progress tracker or a downloadable report. Depending on the certification type, you may have either or both of these. Selecting the report for your study guide will then open up a module report where you can see a per module view with each page outlining your time and activity per module. Looking down the screen will show you for that module how many logins you've had, as well as attempts at your quizzes in the overview section. You'll see a per week view for all of your logins and time logged, and scrolling down further will show any quiz attempts, dates, and scores for your module quizzes. So your practice assessments have the same kind of reporting for you, viewing your progress tracker or the paper report. This is also where you can launch your focused review after your practice test is completed. But before you do that, maybe you want to take a look and see how you did on your practice test. So if you choose to look at the PDF report, you'll see the outline of that attempt. Take a look at the breakdown of your test first. This should look familiar. It's the blueprint from the exam. The test plan broken out into each core area. This is the same blueprint that will be used for your certification test, so you can see how you may do when it's finally exam day. But remember, looking at how you did in each of the areas, this is not the same scoring process as on the certification test itself. That's that weighted score, that evaluated question score. This is going to show you instead a raw score, a percentage of accuracy in each area. If you don't like the percentage that you see here, that's okay. This is just a practice assessment, and there are resources to help you from here. But do take note of these scores. Though there isn't a certain percentage that will mean you'll pass your exam, monitoring your growth in these areas over your study time is a huge help to understanding where you may still want to focus prior to testing. If you scroll down on this report, you'll see each competency and how many items from the test plan that you missed at least one question on. This is your focus to work and go back and review, learning more about the items here so that your next assessment can have a better score. Rather than focusing on what your percentage was, focus on improving this list from one assessment to the next. Now, if you have a progress tracker, this will take you to a slightly different reporting tool, though it's the same basic information. So here we're going to see that what we saw in the PDFs, but in a different kind of a layout, starting with your week at a glance, what you've been doing and where. Then moving into an outline of your progress through the study guide. What is the average time you've spent? Your time in any flashcards through the flashcard app. You can see your average module quiz score. And finally, any assessments completed, your score, and time in the focused review. At the bottom of this page, we will start to kind of, oops, I went a little bit fast, sorry about that. We'll look to break down all of your modules. I'm going to show you a little bit of that. So scrolling down, you can focus on each lesson. You'll see the option to expand more details for any module, which will give you the option to view your quiz information. You can see when you took them, how long you spent, your per attempt score. Remember, use these to gauge your mastery at the topic level and not to memorize answers. Though these questions are based on the test plan, they will not be on the test itself. Use them strategically to help as you prepare and observe your growth. You can also view the lessons for each module, which is where you can see how many logins you've had and total time spent in the learning. A key element here is that if your total time spent is bigger in your quizzes than it is in your lesson, That's probably the wrong way around. We want to see more time in your lesson and learning and less time in quizzes. Let's take a look at how this report helps you to see your practice tests and what to do from here. Now, I know many of you do have your study materials already. I'm curious how many of you, here's another quick poll, have already taken a practice test. So we're just going to give that a quick second to load. There we go. You guys a minute, as you can see. Maybe not as many just yet. They're going to end that poll out. So it looks like, though many of you do have the NHA materials, and I can share these results, that not everyone has taken their practice test. So that's okay. That's fine. We're going to show you how to read that reporting on the other side here. So give me just a second. Okay, the practice test is a really fun reporting tool, and we've got some updates coming like literally this week. So I'm using, again, a little demo account. This is a live walkthrough. I'm going to go in and track my progress in my reporting. And I'm going to make sure, so this is a dummy account. Remember, this is a pretend account. And I'm going to go, you're going to see a new performance analytics feature. And that's something that is what we're going to want to see for, I'm just setting my parameters. There we go. I'm going to stretch that out. So here's my report. I can see all those fun things that we were looking at before. And I'm going to go look at assessments. And this is where I can see the attempt that I've taken. I can see how I did. So again, this is pretend, right? When it happened, how many questions, and my total time spent. And this is a really big one here. Average time per question. As you're preparing to test, we want to have a really beautiful kind of time between too much in any given question and not enough in any given question. And then as we scroll down, you can see here are your focused review topics, and you can view all topics or even open your focused review. Clicking on any of these will take you into your focused review itself. Now, one of the new things that's coming, so if you don't see this today, don't freak out, but it's going to be here by the end of the week if you have this report, is this suggested review feature, where we're going to take each attempt and each competency and say, hey, in this area, we would suggest that you review these topics based off of your practice test. So you'll be able to see that here for every single topic, as well as every single assessment. So there's lots of great features built into your reporting. And this outline is where we would suggest you spend your time, is really seeing how am I doing from one attempt to the next, right? How am I scoring? How am I growing? Competency over competency, attempt by attempt. So lots of great information there for you. So keep in mind that you are unique and are working to prepare for your test either on your own or through a program. The practice test reporting will show you percentage scores, total correct out of total questions, to help you identify areas you may be weaker in or haven't mastered yet. Use that to define what you study next, not to define if you're ready to test. Because the NHA certification score, these are designed to compare you across a much bigger group, the entire country. So your certification test and practice tests don't show you the same kind of scoring information. We're trying to gauge your readiness to move into your new role and career. And using the scaled score helps us to define your ability to begin workday one. This is again why we don't recommend you focus on your practice test score and instead focus on your growth. All this studying and hard work takes time. Knowing what to do and when to do it is an important piece of making sure your exam day is successful. I mean, surprises are great when it's your birthday, but not when you're taking an exam. So the test anxiety is real, and we know that. There are a few key things to remember that can help you with that process. Now that you've done all this studying and preparation, much of your worry should be lifted. But let's outline your timeline, beginning with hopefully obtaining the NHA exam materials and start studying as soon as you can. Some programs have this guarded pretty tight, so follow along with them. but many schools do provide this to their learners. Many employers will as well. Talk with your institution to see if you can gain access to these soon. From there, we recommend that you work through the online study guide and quizzes, using it strategically with the rest of your learning to fill the gaps in between your current knowledge and the exam requirements. When you're ready, take your first practice test and as close to a real exam environment as you can. Time yourself, have the institution turn off the exam rationales, make it really feel like a real exam day. The focused review is that next study tool that comes along with each practice test, along with your personalized reports to help you focus your learning and growth in between each attempt. We want to ensure that you continue to work in those areas. Now, when we're talking about studying, some of this planning ahead means preparing over a period of time, not just the week before. Real learning takes dedication. And it helps to start by establishing study goals, sticking to them. Set certain times each day that you take a bite out of the study. No one expects you to do this overnight. Studying on your own is essential, but it can also be really helpful to have a study group or partner. You remember things differently when you work through it together, and it can help. Now, if you don't have that ability, let NHA be your partner and download that flashcard app and let us help you as you kind of define those core areas of study. So another piece of this is applying for your exam as early as you can. There are usually program requirements for you to meet, but the last thing you want is to miss an application deadline. So be sure to apply for that test as soon as you're able, which ideally is at least 2 weeks before the test date. Depending on how you're testing, exam registration availability does close the week before. So as soon as you can, get it done. If you're testing third party or off-site or through a remote test, your applications will expire if you don't test within 6 months of applying. So there's no limit to how early you should apply, but how long it takes you to get there is an issue. Assemble everything that you need the night before your exam, your ID, your pencil, your watch, set your alarm, be sure you arrive early. You will feel better knowing you're ready to go. Don't cram the day before the exam. Last minute study sessions actually increase test anxiety, which does not help with your ability to take the test. Now, this might sound silly, but getting a good night's sleep and eating a healthy meal can actually help your body to feel prepared. So does staying positive, making sure the things you're saying to yourself are kind. You know, they've proven it scientifically. You remember bad things about yourself easier than good things. So fill your mind with the thought that you can do this. Returning to our timeline, planning ahead also includes being sure you know your login and password. Don't forget your ID. In the days before your exam, check that you know these. You won't be on the same computer you've been studying with. It won't have any of your saved login information, and you can't reset your password during an exam. The last thing you want is to show up to test day and not be able to test because you can't log in. No matter how or where you're testing, be early. If you're testing at your institution, it still means you should show up early and be prepared. Know the room you're testing in, when it's supposed to start. If you're testing third party at a location, know where you're going. Allow extra time for traffic, parking, getting into the building. If you are testing with a remote proctored exam through PSI, ensure your computer is compatible, your test space ready. We have lots of resources to help you with this, no matter what you're. So now on exam day itself, during your test, don't get discouraged if you don't know an answer, but don't skip it. There will be, remember, questions that we don't score, and you're not going to know which ones those are. So if you're unsure, rule out the wrong answers first. Use your knowledge to answer to the best of your ability. And then if you need to, bookmark it at the end. If there's time, you can go back. It's a time test. So again, it's important to get all the way through. And typically, when you second guess yourself, you change it to the wrong answer. So try to just get through to the best of your ability, reading each question all the way through. Watch out for where it says, which of these is not, for example, or the all of the above answer choices. If in that situation you can clearly eliminate one answer, then you know that all of the above is also wrong. There's always one correct answer. So read all of the answers before picking yours. Even if it looks like there's more than one correct answer, only one is the most correct answer. Okay, I don't know about you, but I'm always wondering about next steps, either good or bad. Being confident in what will happen next is another key to successful exams. So you did it. You earned your certification. You can print your certification right away from your login or request one complimentary printed copy. But that we know comes on fancy paper in the mail from your NHA login. But also go online and tell us about it. Tell us your story. We want to hear from you. We're so excited for you every time. Make sure it's on your social media platforms. Put it on your LinkedIn profile. We want to make sure that it's everywhere so that employers know that you are certified. Put it in your email, on your resume. Did you know we have a job board you can use? You can search open roles right from there. Don't forget to bookmark our website as a favorite on the browser so you can go back and review, print, see additional resources for continuing education. But what happens if your first exam attempt is not successful? Well, here's a little visual aid to talk about how that works. From your eligibility to test, you can then apply for and schedule your first exam attempt. If you don't make the minimum score to pass, then you can apply for another attempt, but you can't take it for at least 30 days. This is actually so that you have time to review. We don't want you just to jump right back in. We want you to prepare. So, okay, what happens then? What if I don't pass a second time? Well, it's another 30-day wait period. You need to apply for the exam again. Each new attempt is just like the first, and unless you're in a program that will pay for retakes, that does mean a new exam fee each time. That's why good study habits, which we've talked about, are so important. Okay, let's continue on the same pathway. What if my third attempt is non-passing as well? Well, this is when things change a little bit. From that point, you will be required to wait a full year before you can take the exam for a fourth time. And from there, another full year before you can take any other attempts. Now, this is all for the same certification type. If you're switching certifications, that is not what this is about. But the point here, truly, we don't want you to do this. We want you to earn your certification in your first attempt, not to keep spending your time and spinning your wheels. So then we want to work on doing everything possible to make that second attempt better. And it is completely doable. We know when we look at the data that not everyone who doesn't pass in their first attempt will retake it. However, those who choose to retest, who also use the NHA study materials and work to study like we've been discussing, have a much higher possibility of passing the exam in that second attempt and earning their nationally accredited certification. But we also know that those who use this before their first attempt have an even higher likelihood of passing that exam without ever needing a retake. So following these best practices, focusing on growth, using your reporting to see where you are key pieces to being successful on exam day. This is an example of one of our candidate testimonials, real human, real story, and we love hearing from you. What you're doing right now is hard. It is really difficult. And this first step that you've done just to even get there is huge. You're changing your life. You're changing the lives of those around you. And we see that. They see that. You are making a difference. So keep going. We've got lots of other testimonials out on our YouTube channel. We can't wait to hear yours once you've earned your certification. So we're going to get to Q&A here in just a second. Thank you for everyone who kind of stuck through with us today. We're going to be posting in the chat box here in just a minute the survey link. Let me make sure. Yep. So that's going to go out to everyone. And then we're going to get to some questions. So remember, anyone who filled out this survey before tomorrow will be put into a raffle for a $50 gift card. And we are recording. We will be sending that recording out in the next week to everybody who registered for today. So thank you all so much for being here. We're going to go ahead and open up to some Q&A. I know there probably has been some questions out there, and I'm happy to help answer to the best of my ability. So what's been going on, team? How's it going out there?
Hi, Laura. This is Mary. We had a few ask, how do they purchase study materials?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so purchasing study materials, I would always make sure that you double check with if you're doing this through a program, right? You want to make sure that if you're doing it through a program that you check with them first, because you don't buy anything that they might already be giving to you, right? But if not, then let me just pull up a website here. So this is the NHA website. Once you're logged in, or once you're there, you can go into the little shop feature up at the top. Select the profession or additional learning resource. We've got tons of these. If you're a little bit wobbly on some of these key things, they do make a pretty big impact on your ability to kind of answer questions, kind of filter through things. So I would recommend, if you have the ability, might want to look at those. But you choose the profession that you are going to be testing for. And here's where you can find the study materials. I do recommend the online bundle. That's going to be the one that gets you the flashcard app and has all of those fun features like games and videos and things. So the online bundle, you simply add to your cart and it loads. And when you pay for it, it loads into your account, just like any other kind of platform where you're purchasing stuff. Did that answer that question, Mary?
Yes, it did. And then we have another one that
Great.
just came in, and it's, how does the points work on the exam since the practice tests show percentages?
That's a great question. So we did address that a little bit early on, but I'm going to bring that back up here. Let's see where it's right in the beginning. I talked a little bit about that. There we go. So the exam scoring is different. You nailed it. Congratulations, you got it right on the nose. It is not the same. Your practice tests are scored with that kind of pure percentage. Hey, areas for you to focus on. But the exam itself is a weighted score, a scaled score. And that's primarily because we want to offer a fair opportunity to every candidate, because not everyone's going to get the same questions. What if I have 5 hard questions in a category and you have 2 hard questions? Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's fair. So every question has been weighted, has been evaluated, so that every test has a total of 500 points. That means everybody has a fair opportunity. Everyone has the same amount that they could earn. And that's across all of the different topics and questions. And to earn your certification, the way it's been evaluated is the minimum score to show that you have a mastery of these topics is 390 out of 500. But that's not a one-to-one, right? It's not the same percentage. There's not a math equation that we could easily give you that would say this is what you need to get on a practice test to show you're ready. That's why we're focusing on learning, on growth. I have seen some people do really great on a practice test, and come exam day, if they're like me and have high test anxiety, they don't do well. And I've seen the opposite. But statistically, when we're looking at what we see across the country, the concepts we talked about today, spending the time and study, really using these materials strategically along with your learning, shows for a higher probability of passing the exam in your first attempt, a higher level of success. So hopefully that answered that question.
Yes, great answer. And if you could just go back to their home screen and where they can find all of the how-to resources and guides, so that if they're on the website, they have some information right at their fingertips, please.
Got it. Sure enough. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
if we go back out to my main screen, now this is a dummy screen and a dummy kind of app here, so not everything is exactly right. But this is where, if I log in right here, is where I have tons of additional resources and how-tos. I don't know if that link is live. Yes, great. So here we can see we've got videos, walkthroughs, how do I do different things, update my profile, access material as an individual or through a course, which is through an institution. So 2 different steps there. How do I use my focused review? How do I apply for my test? Tons and tons of resources here to help you with this entire process. So that's right from your home screen, and this little button says view all, right? View all resources right there. Great question.
Thank you. And that's it for all the questions so far, Laura.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Thank you guys so much for joining us here today. We're so excited to have had you be with us, and we want to thank you all. I'm going to go ahead and go back on. Thank you all so much. Remember, we were recording. You should be receiving that recording here in the next week. Thank you for your time today, and I hope everybody has a great day and good luck on your exam. Thanks so much.